welcome to Achieve More Together, SmartBear and Aquion. My name is Brett Lee Price. I'm the vendor alliance manager here at Aquion. And basically, today I really want to talk about an exciting relationship that we have with SmartBear. I really look at SmartBear as being really a jewel in our development tools stable. And so I'm really looking forward to just walking you through with YS later. Now, the agenda for today is just to go through some introductions and also go into who SmartBear is, as well as why SmartBear, why work alongside SmartBear and sell SmartBear solutions. Also, how SmartBear engage with the channel and they themselves, how they work with partners. Lastly, we'll open it up with some Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to just sit on them for now, and then we'll be able to kind of just go through them in a bit. And last but not least, we do have a Kahoot for this webinar as well, where we have 2 tickets to testing talks in Melbourne, kindly given by SmartBear. So if you've got the Kahoot app, or if you don't know how to use Kahoot already, that's okay. You'll see some instructions on there that you can actually get a Kahoot app for your phone from both the App Store or Google Play, or if you want to use your browser, you can use Kahoot, go to kahoot.it, and there'll be a game pin that you'll be given towards the end when we do the Kahoot. And once you actually have that app or the browser open, just keep it there and we'll go back to that at the end. Now, with that said, I'd like to really introduce you to YS from SmartBear. YS is the Vice President, and we're certainly privileged to have you with us, YS. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you explain how partners can really work with SmartBear to build additional revenue streams and just work out how they themselves can take advantage of selling SmartBear. So I'll pass it over to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Brett. Welcome to everyone who's able to join the session with us today. And it's very excited to be here in a virtual event. So, Brett, are you seeing my screen properly?
I am indeed.
With the Formula One car fast approaching?
Yep, all good here.
Okay. So, as Brett said, you know, the focus of today's session is really about what we can achieve together. I understand some of the partners joining us today, you might have some good understanding of the DevOps, software development, software testing, what's been going on. And some of you may have, you know, just a little bit of knowledge, and some of you probably just purely interested in a company with a really interesting name and a more exciting, interesting story, more exciting story to tell. So I guess who's SmartBear? I joined the company 2 years ago, and I remember when I was doing my interview, my then 8 years old daughter asked me, "So, Daddy, what's this new company you're going to be working for?" I said, "SmartBear." So what do they do? I said, "Well, they make children's education toys, so they make you smarter." Actually, you know, what we do is far from that. In a nutshell, oh, by the way, we're going to share the deck with everyone. So you see, I will not be reading the slide one by one. So, you know, in a nutshell, what we do is we help organizations who need to develop their own software tools and applications be able to control the quality better, be able to release faster with some of the latest technologies, of course, machine learning, artificial intelligence included, so that they can stay ahead of the game. It's really that simple, right? And part of the reason, and we, you know, SmartBear has really grown leap and bound in the last few years. I would say starting from the pandemic, early 2020, we have been on an accelerator. And, you know, yes, part of that is because our technology has, you know, really taken forward with acquisitions, with future development, but also because of the world has changed. You know, you can see it on the diagram here. You know, we start with 27 million software developers worldwide, and that number has nearly doubled. It's nearly going to double in the next 3 years, right? We're not the driving force behind that. It's consumers and our customers behind that. And if you look to the right, it's what's interesting is, so this is the number of developers across different industry, right? So if you look at the top, yes, these are the typical familiar logos, the big software giant we'll have to work with day in and day out, whether it's at home or in your office. But underneath Oracle, you're gonna see, you start seeing a very interesting mix, right? There are organizations, the consumer brands, telcos, banks, these are not what we would typically relate to a technology company. They have to build a big in-house development organization because of the need. One of the favorite things our customer is said, our CEO always said, every single business now is an e-commerce company, whether you like it or not. So with that higher number of software developers in the world, unfortunately, our jobs are not getting easier. It's actually getting a lot harder. Here's some data we collected from various analysts, right? So because of the number of people we're hiring as developer, and obviously we expect them to write more lines of code, release them faster. You can see, we're listing 100 to 150 errors per 1,000 line of code written. So that's over 10% of errors we expect in the initial line of codes. API is the funny side, right? We're talking about, if you can remember the slide before, let's forget about the technology company for a second. Let's just look at the consumer goods, the banks. I think I saw a Walmart, which is retail. I saw Ford, which is automotive company. They, when we're talking about API deployment, you think about applications you as a consumer need to use. You don't just simply working with, this company themselves, right? Like you don't, Ford app would have multiple integrations with so many different, their parts suppliers, marketing companies. So it's multiple APIs needs to be used. And that API growth is causing a lot of headache with our customers, because as you understand API, you got multiple touch points, you got multiple parties involved, need to make sure they test it properly, QA it properly. So that is becoming more and more of a focus, especially in APAC region, because we, according to Gartner, APAC region's API is going to grow at double the speed than the rest of the world. And then the last one is, I found it really interesting. Yes, we can do as much test and QA as we can, but at the end of the day, once the software is released, we kind of almost expect there's got to be something going wrong. And the question is, how quickly can you catch the problem and fix the problem? So you can see here, elite software team can, recover from a failure, not 600 times, not 6 times, 6,570 times faster than your average team. That is tremendous, because I remember reading a stats. They're saying if an online shopper stopped at an e-commerce site, and if it takes 3 seconds to load a particular page or causes some sort of error return, the consumer will simply just go to another e-commerce site that offers the same product or similar product and services. It's that simple. There is no patience. There is no second chance. So the fact that a lead software company be able to recover faster, it's a tremendous testimony to how technology will play a bigger and bigger part in how we release our software and how we monitor our software in real life. So why SmartBear? I guess in a summary, a lot of the 5 gray circles you see on the top of your screen, these are market determined, right? Digital transformation, God, I can hear that one more time. It's everybody's talking about digital transformation, right? We talk about rapid increasing number of developers, especially in APAC region. The proliferation of APIs, right? That's just, system need to talk to each other. There's going to be more APIs developed. There's going to be more headache, right? And now there is a shift to DevOps, and people are changing from looking at the software testing from a necessary evil. You have to test it before you release it. to becoming a value add, and it's really involved, looked into the entire life cycle, especially with the automated testing. And also, one thing that people don't talk about openly all the time is IT spending these days. A lot of that is actually driven by developers. Like before I joined SmartBear, I spent many years in CRM, customer experience apps space. Back then we teach our sales people, hey, go business determine the IT budget. But what we don't go to another layer is to say business determine the need. Then they go talk to the IT developers, and they're the ones who determine the IT budget they need to spend in order to meet the business demand. So with SmartBear, we're tackling these 5 problems with a really comprehensive suite of software automation, software testing automation tools, and we're making sure they're really easy to develop, and it's on an open platform. Right? And because of that, the company, although we founded in 2009, we've able to, in the last 13 years, establish 14 global offices, 2 of them in APAC. So our APAC head office in Melbourne, where a majority of the people sit, and we also have an office in India. The go-to-market team is slightly smaller, but we house a couple of hundred people in development and support space. 60 million users across the globe. These are actual users. In terms of the organization or the customers, that's currently about 3,000, I would say 500 now. These starters released earlier this year. The other thing we're very proud of, and especially for your interest, because you're here, you want to make a buck out of SmartBear. Yes, you hear how great we are. Open sourcing, the 4 open source initiative has been a goldmine for us. So SmartBear has always been actively involved in the open source community. In fact, we get a lot of inquiries from customers that they'll tell you, hey, we've been with SmartBear for years now. I'm going, no, you're not. We don't see you on our customer list. They go, oh, we've been using your open source tools, right? Some of open source tools, if you have been in this space, SOAP UI, Swagger, Packflow, OpenFlow, open source. They are just some of the initiatives, and we have over 100,000 community members. So a lot of the inspirations, a lot of our product development directions are sourced from these community members, and we strongly encourage the community members to help each other. Right. So great thing about SmartBear is you will often go do a corporate presentation to a larger audience, and all of a sudden a couple of people put their hands up and go, yeah, we use that tool. Because it's open source, we've been using it for years, love it. Yeah, that's one of the great feedbacks and comments we typically receive. So with SmartBear tools, the other thing is we really help the development and quality assurance across the entire software lifecycle. So if you look at the 5 parts of forms the disk, those are the 5 main functional solutions we're offering. Overall speaking, we have a test management tool to make sure everything works from one end to the other. We have a functional loading testing system that making sure the software looks, acts, and delivers the functionality with promises. And then to the left, start from the orange space, we have an API lifecycle management solution or suite now. As we talked about earlier, right? The increase of API, especially in APAC region, is a huge driving force behind our success. We have application development and code review. So altogether, because we are the single vendor who owns these products, apart from the functionality, it is fully integrated, and it's we have an open platform, so we can integrate with other source tools our competitors or other vendors are providing, and some of the common together with some of the common development tools as well. And one thing we are quite proud of the SmartBear suite is, as you can see on the left here, it's low cost and low touched. a low touch purchase. Typically when a customer purchases a software, we receive the order. Next thing you know, they're going to receive the license keys in the email. We're talking about hours, and they can simply just download the software, load it on their machine if they're using the on-premise version, or they can access the SaaS SaaS application, and pretty much off they go. We have great online tools of self-learning, academy, how to step-by-step videos. And because the solution is designed to be, low cost, low touch, we don't really need to offer a lot of assistance to our customers during implementation and during the use of the solution, which means, the great thing for us is we don't have to have a professional services organization to go in and help the clients, configure, conduct the training course. We'll do the best we can, but that offers our partners a great opportunity to say, okay, well, there's always going to be the special cases. There's always going to be organizations who have, slightly, off the main trail requirements, and that's where additional services will come in, whether it's helping them to design some end-to-end testing, or help them to configure how they can use Swagger or Packflow to manage the API lifecycle. So if you're one of those partners who have in-depth knowledge, we love to hear from you. Okay, so let's go in a little bit deeper about why SmartBear. I mean, if you want to sell the solution, the first thing you want to know is this is a brand you can trust, right? So it's not going to tarnish your reputation when you go talk to your clients. We are left, right, and center featured in Gartner, in Forrester. We regularly have a conversation with IDC. We're highly recommended by a lot of software, software analysts and many industry awards. I'm not going to go through every single one of them one by one. There's plenty from the company sides. But really, at the end of the day, I still think today when you buy software, you got to look at who else is using it, which I'll share some of the names in our region a little bit later. So, rest assured, we definitely have the credibility. A lot of your customers, if they're using software testing tools, they're either aware of this or they could already be a customer. Right? We talked about the product expansion, especially since the pandemic. We were lucky, if you look at the left side of your screen, Vista, if anyone follows the private equity and private equity investment, you might know this. I know it's a bit of a boring and less exciting subject than software testing. Vista is probably recognized, as the leading technology private equity company that specializes in investing in technology firms. Right? Now, SmartBear is a private company. We were owned by Francisco Partners. So Vista joined the party around late 2020. So we're now 50-50 owned by, regularly regarded as the #1 and now the #2 private equity firms in the world. So that itself shows the potential and of the solution we offer to the market and the growth potential of the company. So ever since they joined the party, we able to introduce new functionalities in Swagger Hub, which is our API design tool. And then around May, we acquired a very exciting acquisition, Bugsnag. So they gives us the capability to monitor a live site, monitor if a particular web page, for example, is operating properly, and alert operators if something may go wrong. Remember earlier in the slide deck, we said a lead software team can recover from an error 6,000 times faster. Bugsnag is one of the reasons a lot of our customer teams be able to do that. We just starting to introduce it to APAC, but their customer list is really the who's who of business who's doing companies doing business on the internet. We keep on, because of that, we'll be able to speed up how much new functionality we add. So you can see from the top, we actually managed to go from quarterly to bi-monthly release, so speed up the software release cycle. And then around, I think it was around February, March this year, we completed another acquisition. So the last one you can see at the bottom right, Packflow. So Packflow does contract testing. And most exciting thing about Packflow is the entire software development, actually shouldn't say the entire, majority of the software development team and the organization is based in Melbourne. Right? So so that separates us from our competitors a bit more, because not many of them be able to say, hey, we have a software development team based in Australia. We do now. And contract testing is quite interesting. Without going into greater details, you think about, earlier I talked about how important API is, and especially today when API is not just used by your in-house technicians, right? You got to give it to external partners because they do business with you. They want to do electronic transactions or other things, exchange data. So when you're doing the API test, you need to certain level of governance to make sure everybody's following the same principles, same best practice, and everything is recorded. And that's pretty much what Packflow does. So we're getting a lot of, I think for Packflow, a lot of the success are coming from that financial services space initially. Now it's really expanding its footprint in other industries. I know this is a slightly more complicated, but for slides, but for technical people, probably you can see it gets a little bit excited. So from a software development lifecycle perspective, first of all, you need to design the software, right? You need to design what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and that's where our product Cucumber Studio, Swagger Hub, and Packflow comes in. Cucumber Studio is really just design the features and test using behavior-driven behavior-driven design, and then coming down below the midline, this is Swagger Hub is helping you to design APIs, right? Because there's a age-long debate, I think, between code first, i.e., should we write a code and worry about it later, or design first, i.e., let's think about what exactly we want this API to do and how it's going to behave before we actually go write it. To complement that, the Packflows we talk about is the contract testing. So it's a really valuable addition to our design suite. So assuming the software development team will take all of this information, input, start the development work. With the DevOps and the new software automation testing principle, the whole thing is about, do you do a waterfall, i.e. you finish all the code and then do the testing first, or do you apply a more agile framework so that you test as you develop, so that you don't have all the error codes at the end. You start fixing the little problem as you go. I know which one I'm in favor, but there are still organizations out there following the waterfall principle. That's fine as well, right? So for us, we offer two testing solutions. On top, it's UI testing. So it's the user interface working properly. It's the functionality of the solution doing what it's supposed to do. We help organizations doing performance testing. You will be surprised how often we get inquiries from customers going, hey, we're going to launch this website next week. We need to test what happens if 200,000 people hit our web page at the same time. Right? That's what Load Ninja does. We can simulate that level of load to a web page or application, and then everybody wants to test mobile. Everybody wants to test website these days, and that's where the big bar solution comes in to make sure that, especially with the mobile apps, it works in the real device, and we have a mobile farm in the cloud to enable them to test that. Then it comes to API. Ready API, unlike everything you have seen so far, Ready API is one product. It has many different solution offerings, so it can test functionality, performance, right? Because when people hitting the website, they're hitting multiple APIs at the same time. It really puts a load on the performance of the solution. And of course, security and the server virtualization. So assume all the tests are done properly. After you deploy that, you got to monitor, right? You want to be one of those elite software development team that knows problems or be able to fix the problems as quick as you can. So that's where Bugsnag, Lursight comes in. Now, to wrap all these complicated solutions together, we have a test management system and Zephyr. So as the name suggests, test management and manage the day-to-day running of your testing operation. And we use collaborator to encourage documents, codes, and reviews to be shared across different teams, different divisions. So this is a very quick, and I'll try to be as non-technical as I possibly can, overview of the software, the SmartBear offering. Now, this is a slide. It's a little bit of future looking, right? Because these days, anything you do in technology, in software development, you can't stay away from task, AI and artificial intelligence and the implementation of that. And we've been implementing machine learning and AI continuously, but what we're trying to do now is accelerate and really take it to the next level. So as you can see, self-healing is one of the things, if you have so many codes, remember, right, it's roughly 10–15% of the codes written today will have error in them. Self-healing will help, at least simple self-healing will help the development team not worry about the small things and focus on the problems or errors that requires more time to fix. Visual testing, right? We talk about, Test Complete is one of the tools we have that focus on how things look, how the application look, and especially when you start deploying things on the mobile devices. So this will be GA'd as we speak now, that we are in the Q4. So it's test case selection, because it's software testing, it's about what are the cases or what are priorities you want to run a test. Because remember, you don't have infinite time to worry about to run all kinds of tests, right? Let's be selective. Let's find the test case that's the most relevant to the software you written, and we'll be able to help organization, or we will be able to help organization select the test cases that are the most relevant and that fails the most often. And then, then in progress, that's going to be released in 2023, hopefully, is an anomalous exploration of the applications that automatically generates test case that's most suitable for that particular application with zero human intervention. Now, will it be really zero when we release that? Probably not from day one, but that's our design goal. So you can see, SmartBear, from the technology investment, we have really, made a lot in the last couple of years, and will continue to do so into the future. Right. So we talk about technology, thank God for that. Let's talk about the business, right? So as I said earlier in the first one, while working with SmartBear, I said credibility. So these are some of the organizations you will probably certainly be familiar with a lot of the logos. I built them from, international well-known brand to the local ones, in financial services, Australian government, utility, retail, you name it, we have it. And of course, to build this slide, I've focused on the larger enterprises, and they definitely our target. But, as I mentioned in the title, it's opportunity everywhere. We don't really specifically target large end of the tail, right? In fact, if I look at the past quarter result, we have been having more success with the smaller startup companies with 5–10 development people in the software development division, and they need automation tools because they've fallen behind on their release schedule. So what's the best way to define a SmartBear customer? Any organization who has got their own in-house development team was under a lot of pressure to deliver software applications to support business, that could be a great customer, right? Large or small. The fourth and the last but not least, why SmartBear? Because we got local coverage. Now I've worked in quite a few different startups, right? As a software startup, typically you start with a go-to-market team, a couple of salespeople, right? A laptop each, a mobile phone in your pocket, and just go off and get as much business as you can. Hey, I'm not going to lie to you. That's where SmartBear started. Back in 2017 when we first opened the APAC and India office. But time has changed now. And when I say APAC, I want to focus on Australia, right? Because this is where most of you are coming from. We run the APAC region other than India from Melbourne. And we have sales team, channel team. So my channel manager, Ken Ho, is on the call with me today. And then, of course, we have an India team. But beyond that, we have dedicated sales development team that can support your channel partners, any go-to-market initiative. So, BDRs or business development reps, or telephone sales rep, so many different names you can call them. We have dedicated support engineers. I mentioned earlier in India, we have a big support team. Well, in Melbourne, we have 3 dedicated support engineers that addresses functional test, API, and test management solution suite, which is our 3 most popular products. Right? So that is a huge advantage when we start talking to a large enterprise customer or public sector. They often ask, how often do we, what's your KPI? What's the service level we can expect? Guess what? We got support engineer in Melbourne servicing it. Solution engineer, another name to call it is pre-sale engineer. We got 4 of them scattered around APAC, as well as our own marketing team. As I mentioned earlier, because of the pack flow, we also added our local product development team. So when you go to market, you're gonna get local support, local flavor support across sales, technical support, as well as go-to-market. So it's we're really ready to partner with you to go to the next level. And the reason for that is, APAC is in APAC specifically, driving business through partners is a key growth strategy for us. You can see in 2021, so last year, globally, we have 43 million. But in APAC, last year was the first year we started, really looking at developing, specifically developing partners in certain area. And that's where we first, started working with Aquion. I think it was around the second half last year. So in APAC last year, our billing was the first time it reached $2 million mark. And that represents a 50% revenue growth for the partners year after year. So that's a great momentum we would love to keep on building. And give you some partner success stories, right? Because you may want to know how the other partner work with us. So, Excelsoft is a long-standing partner with us. They've been in the business with SmartBear for about 5 years. And they really just primarily selling Test Complete, which is part of the functional test tool. And you can see they're consistently generating about $500,000 every single year. Excelsoft is another one, except they're taking the game to another level. They've been with us since 2017, so we're 6 years now. And their SmartBear related revenue is north of $1 million, pretty much every year for the last 3 years now. And if we talk about, these 2 are the long-standing partners, it just shows when you start focusing one area and really build a best practice around it and build special offerings, what you can achieve. But let's talk about someone new. So Slackson, this is a reseller from Korea. Actually can sign them up towards the second half last year, so very, very new. In the first 6 months, they were able to bring in about close to $400,000 to SmartBear. So that's fantastic growth for a new partner in a region where we don't really support their language. So that's just the indication of what you can achieve with SmartBear if you put focus to it. So how do we go to marketing and in this region? I think today most of the audience are mainly focusing ANZ, but if you have business interest in APAC, it's pretty much the same, right? So from SmartBear perspective, we go to market with running our own webinars and search engine optimizations. Majority of the sales leads we get through inbound, so we have a tremendous lead gen engine working behind us. Hence why we have a marketing team in this region. We call it, we have two main go-to-market motions, right? So we call it the sales assistant motion. So that's where an AE and solution engineer will need to engage in the sales cycle, understand what the customer is looking for, recommend the right solution, POC, and you name it, and then at the end of the day, we take an order from the customer. But we also have a lot of the clients, well-educated, knows exactly what for. They'll be able to purchase a lot of solutions from our e-commerce side. And we also have solution that's, exclusively or co-sold on Atlassian side. So there's the sales assistant motion, and then there's the e-commerce and Atlassian motion. For the partners, we really want your help on the sales assistant side, right? And I think that's where your biggest earning potential will come from. So who do we target? Why I say we, this is all of us together. Really, it's any company, as I mentioned earlier. We don't discriminate or distinguish between industries because developing software is developing software. Right? There will be subtle differences, but in terms of the testing requirement and the design requirement, a lot of the times we find it's very, very similar. Right. So, if you're thinking about, I'm really interested in what SmartBear can do with the technology, but who are my customers? First question you want to ask them is, of all the customers you are aware of, how many of them really develop their own applications, write their own codes? If they do, they could be a potential client. Target persona, pretty straightforward, right? Any QA testers or test managers, architects, software development leads, you name it. And of course, we do love to talk to the CIOs and CTOs, but they're the ultimate decision makers. But typically, they, when we get to that level, they will be in a tech company rather than a typical a usual consumer goods or a bank or insurance company, right? And last but not least, the easiest way for you to qualify if this is the ideal client is, for that organization software team, are they told to run faster, release quality software quicker, but they tell you they have a budget that's starting to shrink year after year. That's the problem we would love to hear, because that's the problem we help these companies to resolve using our automated software testing application. Okay. So how do we work with partners? So what would we like to work with you on? So obviously we would love to work with you on new opportunities, right? Brett will be able to walk you through the process, but if you discover new opportunities, let us know, and you will be handsomely rewarded for bringing us an opportunity we never heard of or being aware of. And we'll also love to get some support on existing opportunities that's already in the pipeline, right? Just because you find something you thought was new coming to us, you go, you got already working on that. That's okay, because we do have a sales team, but our coverage is still limited. So with your support, we'll probably be able to discover new areas we didn't know about, or accelerate the sales process. And last but not least, we love to leverage your existing relationship to speed up the customer procurement process, and also help us to transact in local currency, because until now, as a SmartBear, as a company, we can only transact in USD and EU. So it's a great opportunity for a partner to help us if a customer says, "Nah, sorry, we can only transact in AUD at the moment." If you're a partner who wants to take it further, i.e. you're interested in helping us to find new opportunity, work on the existing one, but also you maybe thinking about adding value-added services around our solution offerings, we have all the sales ready materials available for different product sets, and most of them are online, but we can, through Aquion, organize specific training sessions, whether it's sales or technical deep dive for you. So with that, that's the end of my presentation. I will open it up for a short Q&A if people still have time.
And if anybody has any questions before we jump into the Kahoot, by all means, please feel free to raise it now or forever hold your peace. With that said, I also just want to advise that this is, investing down the route of being able to sell solutions like SmartBear is a huge potential revenue booster to your company. Again, software development is expected to grow out into an addressable market of 1,039 billion, I believe, by 2027, and application testing, like where SmartBear really specializes in, is a huge part of that. So now's the time to look at how you can be offering development tools like SmartBear. Now, with that said, if you do want to know any more beyond that, and we're definitely keen to partner with you guys, please do either reach out to the Aquion sales team, so your relevant account manager, if you have Jim, Luke, or Regina, or if you don't have any of them, feel free just to contact the general line and we'll look after you. Or if you'd like to talk to SmartBear and find out more directly, please reach out to Mr. Ken Ho, who's the channel manager at SmartBear, and he'll be able to help you as well. And you'll see his email on the screen. Now, with that said, I'm conscious of the time, so we won't take up any more, but thank you so much for attending, and hope to hear from you soon.